Hey everyone, this is Fernando Rodriguez with the Tom Wolf team at Remax Experience, and welcome to the March 22 market update. Today, I will be sharing with you the three most asked questions that we have been receiving recently. The first topic is home price appreciation and how that is accelerating. We'll talk about that. The second is supply and demand and how that is impacting home prices. And then finally, I'll wrap up with net worth and the benefits of owning a home and what it can do to your overall net worth. It is hard to believe that it has been 2 years since the COVID pandemic started, and it fundamentally changed on how we do business. And housing certainly wasn't immune to that. A lot of things have changed in the housing market. One of the biggest changes has been the rate of home price appreciation. So let us start there today and really reflect on what's happened over the past couple of years. I want to walk through this and what it means going forward as we look at a home price forecast. And the best place to start is with a dive into home price appreciation for last year. So the answer to the question I posed earlier, are home prices still accelerating? Is yes. Now let's look at this graph and see percent year over year price increases by month back to 2021. If we look over on the left side, in January of 21, we saw 10% home price appreciation. What this means is that from January of 2020 to January of 2021, home prices increased by 10%. And then as you can see, month over month, it really started to accelerate throughout the year. By the summer, you see July, August, it started to level out about 18%. Still very significant home price appreciation, right? And that is when we started hearing conversations and we started hearing some experts say our home prices will begin to decelerate. Decelerate means it's going to continue to increase, but just at a slower pace. Again, decelerate, slower pace. And what we saw in reality is that 18% held for a while, and then into December and January of 2022. That's the latest data we have in the green bar. It's showing that home prices are starting to tick back up. And that's, again, a direct result of high buyer demand and low supply. Now, if we look at this on a state-by-state basis, it shows changes in prices in the last year from the Federal Housing Finance Association, or the FHFA. Shows that the national average is 17.5% home price appreciation last year. Here in Florida, it was at 25.7%. Now, some states were higher, some states were lower, but you can see that across the board, the reality of it is we didn't have depreciation in any state. Again, depreciation, the slow rate of appreciation because of supply and demand. Now, let's look at the past 5 years. National average over the last 5 years was 54.5% home price appreciation. Again, inventory is low and buyer demand high. This is what we are starting to see year after year. It's increasing home price appreciation. And that reality exploded in 2021. But if you look back at that, of the last 5 years, home price appreciation has been incredibly significant. Now, wait for it, where there gets even more wow is if we look at the past 30 years. So changes in prices since 1991. If you go all the way back 30 years, national average is 258% appreciation. That is massive, 258% appreciation. So is this going to be a good time to buy? Should I buy now? Am I buying at the top of the market, as some clients say? Is my home investments going to be a valuable one? If we can go back 30 years and we can look over time, I would ask, and I do ask the question, if you go back and buy a house in 1991, would you do it? Looking at the data, the answer is clear. Home prices have definitely appreciated in value and been historically a very strong investment. And the question clients are trying to decide is, what's the next move going forward? What's going to happen throughout the rest of the year? So let's look at home price forecast for 2022. And this is a chart that I show because it averages out what experts are saying. We follow 7 key entities who forecast out home prices throughout the rest of the year. And when you average those together here in the green bar, you can see they're projected roughly at 6.1% appreciation through the rest of this year. So CoreLogic is on the high end with 9.6%. Zelman is on the low end right now with 3%. But all in all, experts are expecting values to increase throughout this year. And that, again, is a direct result of supply and demand. The reality is we are likely going to see these forecasts in an upward direction going forward as we continue to have low inventory on the realtors. We are expecting more sellers to come to the market this spring. And with developers, more new constructions are set to be delivered in 2022. And so that should ease some of the home price appreciation, as well as rates ticking up. I think that will also slow down the appreciation. Let's stop here for a moment and talk about supply demand, because you've heard me mention this several times, and I will be mentioning it several times throughout this update. The inventory and the supply and demand balance is really what determines where home prices go. The next graph is really a good foundational element to share with you. And this is how the market impacts, or inventory impacts, home prices. Right now, we are squarely in what you would call a seller's market. We've all heard it, we've all felt this, and that's what you can see there over in the blue bar. Essentially, it means more buyers in the market than homes available for sale. They're competing for homes. That's driving prices up. That's the general law of supply and demand, right? We see that with gas prices today. Anytime there are more buyers for a particular item than there are people selling that item, prices will rise because people are willing to pay more for them. Now, a neutral market is where this kind of balances out. And a buyer's market is where there are more buyers or more homes available than buyers interested in purchasing it. And that causes prices to decline. So we are in a seller's market today, and I'm going to show you right now new listings. And they are actually falling dramatically right now. This is a look at 2021 month by month. New listings coming to the market in the thousands. And what you can see really is over on the right side, October, November, December, listings really started to decline. So not many listings coming to the market towards the end of the year. And that is typical with the Thanksgiving and holiday in November and Christmas and Hanukkah holidays in December. But what I'd like to show here is that active listings are also dropping again. So what we have is October, November, and December active listings falling toward the end of the year. And that means homes are selling just as fast as they're coming to the market. So buyers are in high demand. There aren't enough homes on the market. They're not staying on the market very long. They get listed, they go pending, and sold quick. The reality is, anytime we start to see inventory low like this and prices start to rise, is when we hear people talk about prices are rising so significantly, they start to wonder about the housing market. And People remember what happened when the housing market crashed in 2007, 2008. They remember prices skyrocketing, and they worry about a housing bubble. There is a really interesting study from Realtor.com, and it shows that worries about a housing bubble persist. Now, this is the percent of people who say they believe there's a housing bubble where they live. And so 77% of those surveyed feel like there's a housing bubble in the market. And when real estate agents, realtors, were surveyed, 45% of them felt like there's a housing bubble as well. That's nearly half of agents. And 3 out of 4, every 4 people feel like there's a bubble. Now, if you've been following along on my updates over the past year, I've shown the data month after month after month after month after month that we're not headed for a housing bubble. But when there's a concern out there, when we know that there's uncertainty in the market, people have fears. So talk to Tom, how can we help ease those fears? I'm going to walk you through some slides in a moment that I hope will ease those fears to my clients and even fellow realtors. I think the next few slides will help. Let me first try to paint a picture from an inventory perspective. You've heard me talk about supply and demand earlier, and this next slide shows that inventory of homes today is nothing like the housing bubble of the early 2000s. This is month's supply of existing home sales in December of each year. Now, you can see on the left side the 4 years of the housing crash, and on the right side, the past 4 years. So let me break this down for you. The orange bars on the left, 2000 through 2010, show that it was a buyer's market. We had an oversupply of homes. So you remember that graph that I shared with you on seller neutral buyer's market? These bars show that we were in a buyer's market when the housing market crashed. 9.6 months of inventory in 2007. 9.4 months of inventory in 2008. Significantly higher than we are today. And what you can see on the right side over in the blue, 2018 to 2021, we had 3.7 months of inventory in the market. It was significantly higher than where we are today. And 3.7 months of inventory is low going into the pandemic. And then look at 2020 and 2021. Simply not enough to go around. So when there aren't enough homes on the market, that's what drives prices up. But it's a definitely significant market than it was back in the housing crash. The housing crash, prices appreciated because of speculators. Here, prices are being driven up because of actual buyers. So yes, prices are rising based on supply and demand, and we are nowhere near where we were the last time. Now, the interesting thing about this as well is I told you I wanted to walk through the buyer demand. So take a look at this. We hit a record high, a 15-year record of existing home sales in 2021. So this is the number of existing home sales in 2019, 2020, 21. 2019, 5.4 million homes sold. 2020, 5.6 million. 2021 crushed it with 6.1 million homes sold in this country. What does that say? The buyers are out there. That sellers are out there looking for homes, selling their homes. They're purchasing homes, and they're in the process. So we have higher buyer demand. We have low inventory, significantly different fundamentals than where the housing market was in the bubble burst, where there were speculation. That's what drove the prices back in 2000. People purchasing homes this time, they can afford them this time. And I say that because I want to share this data here that shows you credit scores. Credit scores are nothing like the last time either. This is the volume of loans in billions. I say billions with a credit score less than 620. So take a look at those orange bars. 2003 to 2007. Significantly more loans issued to buyers who had credit scores less than 620. So 2008 to 2021, you can see that those lending standards have gotten much tighter, meaning that buyers are essentially showing the credentials that they're able to afford their homes. And that's what's leading to the loan opportunities. So very different lending standards are creating a landscape that's nothing like the last time. Credit scores are definitely tighter this time around. And if you're worried about any other fundamentals of the market, let's think about equity for a second. Homeowners have significantly more equity today, so they're in much better financial position as homeowners. Where in the early 2000s, lenders were doing 100% financing with no skin in the game for the buyer. And if you're worried about foreclosure crisis, I encourage you to go back and take a look at the data from, I think, 2 months ago, January, that talked about forbearance and foreclosure. Because the data simply shows that we're not headed for a foreclosure crisis. We won't see a wave of inventory coming to the market that is going to significantly tip the scales into a buyer's market. There just aren't enough homes going into foreclosure. And we're so grateful for that because that means more and more people are staying in their homes. So the fundamentals of this market are really a lot different. And that reality is, I know that people still have concerns. And all I'm trying to do here is share with you actual data and compare the two different markets that we were in early 2000s to now. And hopefully I'll help you understand the housing market and feel confident today on where we're at. People still have a fear about the housing bubble, but it's just not the same. And when I talk to potential clients who are thinking about buying, whether it's a first-time home buyer or for investment property, they say, well, I'm watching prices rise. I'm not sure if I should buy right now. I'm concerned that there's a bubble. I'd like to talk, I share with them about net worth because net worth is really a game changer. The data that I'm about to show you really paints a very strong picture for homeowners or potential homeowners when they're thinking about the long-term financial benefits of owning a home. There's the stability and security, that emotional American dream of home ownership. So that's very important. But as this quote says, with inventory at an all-time low, buyers are still having a difficult time finding a home. So as they're feeling like, I'm not sure that I want to stay in the game because it's a tough road right now, and prices are rising, and I'm having a hard time finding a home. I always tell them to be patient when we start this process. This data from last year, from 2021, from National Association of Realtors, shows that the average net worth of a homeowner today is $300,000. The average net worth of a renter is just $8,000. Think about that for a second. $300,000 versus $8,000. If we're talking about building that financial future and really thinking towards that long-term goal of home ownership, and we look at that data, the history that shows how much homes have appreciated over the last 5 years to 30 years. So when I hear potential clients say, I could buy right now, but I'm going to wait, I'm going to see if prices fall, I'm going to see if mortgage rates drop, we know we're not in an environment where that's projected to happen. So buying now and getting that net worth journey started toward home ownership is such a game changer for the future. And I think another way to look at this is a really powerful one as well. It says that the net worth of a typical homeowner is about 40 times the net worth of a renter. 40 times. That's huge. Now, I know everyone purchases a home at different times for different reasons. There are
financially, emotionally ready at different moments. And that's okay. But being able to share this data with my clients is so powerful, and it helps them feel confident with the decision that they're making. So I want to end this section with a quote from the National Association of Realtors. It says, while the booming housing market contributed significantly to the recovery of the U.S. economy, research has consistently shown that home ownership is also associated with multiple economic and social benefits to individual homeowners. So before I go, I'll be publishing our spring buyer and seller guides next week. We have all new data, insights, visual graphics, everything you need to know if you are a seller or buyer in today's market. Please direct message us for a copy.
Thank you for listening. Hopefully it was informative. If you have any questions regarding any of the topics or any of the slides that I shared with you, please direct message us and we will answer them. And if you have any topics that you would like for us to talk about in future videos, please let us know.